over the world. So thank you for coming here. We are at RIA, this online conference, and we have different women amazing panelists. So let's intro the panelists. We have different women amazing. So we have first Montserrat Gonzalez Arenas. She studied at Carnegie Mellon University, worked with speech recognition group on the Richard Stern and Electrical Engineering Department, and she is now at Google Brain Robotics. So now Saiph, who is also part of the panel, is going to introduce Michelle and Alexandra. Saiph.
So we're really excited to be here. We have different women who are in different stages of their career. All of us are Latinas. And an interesting thing is, and so we're going to be introducing them. The second person that we want to introduce is Michelle Diaz. Michelle Diaz studied at the National Polytechnic Institute, El Politécnico Nacional, and she has created and worked in a series of startups related to artificial intelligence, and has also been building a strong artificial intelligence community in Mexico, where she has created workshops focused on teaching and discussing machine learning approaches and applications. She has created machine learning content in Spanish to help increase the growth and empower the Latino machine learning communities. She was selected as one of the best young researchers by the Heidelberg Laureate Forum in Germany, which was also given only to the best top 100 computer scientist students of the world. So we're really excited. So she's a recent undergraduate, and she has been pushing AI in Latin America. And it's great to have you, Michelle. The next one that we have is Alexandra. So Alexandra studied her PhD in EPFL, where she worked in the Distributed Information Systems Laboratory under the supervision of Karl Abner. Her work was focused on helping users to better gauge and assess web content. She then did also internships at IBM and Microsoft Research, and she is now a principal researcher at Microsoft Research, where she is part of the Microsoft Research Group on Fairness, Accountability, and Transparency and Ethics. And she's thinking a lot about how do we mitigate biases in artificial intelligence. And it's great to have you, Alexandra. Thank you so much for joining.
And Saiph, thank you. And also we are doing this to close the gender gap also in the technology field. So that's why we are also collaborating with Epic Queen, that we want to bring more role models in tech. So that's why you are looking at also this streaming at YouTube and at our YouTube channel. And in Facebook. So I'm going to present Margarita. Margarita Sordo is a senior medical informatician and an instructor of general internal primary, I don't know what is that, at Harvard Medical School, PhD in computer science and artificial intelligence from the University of Sussex, UK. She has been a key player in major medical informatics projects with lasting impact, both nationally and internationally. She was developed national and international standards for representation of clinical knowledge, for clinical decision support, electronic prescribing, and exchange of healthcare information. Saiph? Your turn.
Hey, so now we also have Yolanda Martinez. So Yolanda Martinez is currently working in the in IDB Bank, which is a group representative in Chile. She has contributed to Chile's development of generating collaborations and synergies through public and private development projects that improve people's lives. She has extensive experience in designing and implementing public policies on digital transformations, emerging technologies, and digital securities due to the implementations in local and national governments in Mexico. She studied information systems at the University of Guadalajara from the University of Guadalajara, yay! And then she studied public policy at Carnegie Mellon University. She served as National Digital Strategy Coordinator for Mexico's former presidency, and she was recognized by Apolitico as one of the 20 most influential leaders in digital government at a global level. I think that almost everything that I've learned about civic technology, I learned it from Yolanda. She has been very inspiring, actually, to learn how you can really implement technological change in governments. And so I'm really excited to have her. And then finally, we have Mihaela. Do you want to introduce Mihaela?
Yes, sorry, I had a little delay. So Mihaela is in machine learning driven medical diagnosis and prognosis. Her work has served to lay down the foundations of what will be the future medicine. She's the director of the Van der Schaar lab. Sorry if I don't say something in a good way. My first language is Spanish. At Cambridge University, her lab has been the goal of driving breakthroughs in machine learning to save lives and revolutionize medicine by improving clinical practice and catalyzing medical discovery. She's also a fellow at the Alan Turing. Wow. I'm reading this, I'm saying, wow, wow, wow. These amazing women in this panel all together. Let's have a really great conversation about artificial intelligence. Thank you, Saiph. The microphone is yours.
Thank you. Okay, so now introduced everyone. As you can see, we have women that are in different stages of their career, and they are all succeeding in AI. And so we'll start off with some questions that we prepared, and then we're going to also open it up from the public. We actually have a lot of people who are cheering for UDG, which is Yolanda's university, also Politécnico Nacional. So it's great to see a lot of women who are coming into the forum. So one of the first questions that we had, and this one was first tailored for Yolanda and also Mihaela. Could you guys talk to us a little bit about what was your biggest success and the biggest learning opportunity in AI or in your tech-related field that you identified? What was the biggest learning opportunity that you found? And the public, can you guys start writing off your questions? We'll also get them to also participate with you. And again, thank you everyone for.
Yolanda, do you go first or do I go first?
You can go first.
So for me, AI is an opportunity to solve real life problems. So I think the biggest opportunity for me in AI is the fact that we can build some environments and some worlds that are better worlds. So I see really AI and machine learning directly, transparently, and fairly as a solution to many real-life problems. And the two passions that I have, especially in AI, are related to healthcare and personalized education. So personalized healthcare and personalized education. So I think AI is really a wonderful technology that can be used for the better to build better worlds. And especially I'd like to encourage the women that are listening to us to consider the fact that this is not only geeky technology, it can be used to really make the world around us better. And healthcare and education are two wonderful disciplines where these methods can thrive and can be not only applied to, but can drive the technology on machine learning and AI.
Yeah, I agree with Mihaela. I think the best opportunity and something that I feel very grateful is that I had the opportunity to lead great changes in government, putting technology for the better of the people. And the biggest opportunity that we have in Latin America and the Caribbean, where we have a lot of inequality, is to really leverage the power that technology, and especially exponential technologies, artificial intelligence, blockchain, 3D printing, all those technologies, when you have a strategy to have a strategic use, to design public services that are well targeted to meet people's needs, that's when you make a difference. And the biggest challenge that we have when talking about digital transformation, it is not just a government responsibility, it's an ecosystem responsibility. We have technology in everything we do. And as a government, there is a huge responsibility on how to regulate the ethical and responsible use of technology in all sectors of government: education, healthcare, transport. Anything you think now is connected to the internet. As 5G develops, more things are going to be connected, more data is going to be generated, and we need to use strategically that data to understand better what are the needs of the people, to design digital services that cover those needs, and to become and to leverage and really encourage awareness among all the stakeholders, academia, international organizations, all government entities, civil society, to really understand what is the impact and to really give the people the skills to leverage as much as they can the opportunities that internet and artificial intelligence can provide. And I think I'm very happy to participate in this, and I would really encourage all girls to explore how wonderful it is to be able to create, to imagine, to articulate, to put everything you can imagine into a technical solution that can democratize access to better opportunities for all the people.
Thank you so much, Yolanda and Mihaela, for sharing. I'm just going to share really quickly a question that somebody asked because it's very related to what Yolanda was saying. Yolanda, do you think it would be a good idea to have a ministry of AI in Mexico? So like, for instance, you guys had created like a national digital strategy for managing data. Do you think that Mexico should also be pushing for this type of strategy now just focused on AI?
I will say that more than a ministry, the challenge is to have a multi-stakeholder governance model that can leverage technology and digital transformation in a transversal way. It is not, today is AI, tomorrow is going to be something else. So what is important is to see digital transformation as a state policy that goes transversal into all sectors of government, that requires a huge effort and an articulated effort coming from the very top to really create the capacities within all government agencies, not only digital teams. All public servants need to be aware of how technology impacts the area that they do, whether education, healthcare, agriculture, any public service today is surrounded by technology. So the most important thing is to have a multi-stakeholder governance mechanism. It could be a ministry, it could be an agency. What is relevant is to have the highest political support, then to have an institutional arrangement that can provide this governance body the capacity to set up standards and principles on how to use these new technologies, and then to have a way to scale this and translate this into the design of policies that really targets user needs, that really provides more tools for government to become more efficient, more open, more active in listening to citizens. And then we need to also empower citizens. The best citizens that we can have is the ones that have criteria on how to use these technologies, on how to really make their citizens' rights a reality using this technology. And it's an ecosystem challenge. It's not only one ministry challenge. So my ask will be to have a very strong governance institutionality that listens and to sit on the table all the stakeholders, public sector, government, civil society, academia, to work together to have standards on how to apply this ethically, professionally, and especially to put technology for the service of the people.
That was very interesting, and this idea about involving all stakeholders into the solutions. So related, we received a question about, and this is more For Alexandra and also Mihaela. So how do you guys see that, what are some of the solutions that we need to think about to involve more women in AI so that they see AI as a career option? And some people started seeing this also related to like the multiple stakeholders that Yolanda was talking about. And we also have, by the way, a lot of questions related to civic tech, which we'll go back to afterwards. It seems like everybody was very interested in that topic. So basically, again, for Alexandra and Mihaela, what do you believe, Alexandra, are some of the things that young women need to know to start considering, for instance, these AI as a career option, or this more technical field as a career option?
Yeah, I think the first thing that they need to know is that they can do it, right? That there's nothing special about programming or building computational systems that that is that different than finance, right? The type of skills that you will need. So one message that I want to emphasize on, that they can do it. And I think for a woman, oftentimes it's much easier to get motivated to try when they see the outcomes of the system, when they see what can be done, or when they see these sort of more user-facing applications. And I think that's another starting point that they could consider, right, with something that seems really that can have an immediate impact.
Yeah, so I agree completely.
Thank you, Alexandra. And I think that related, right now we have a question from Mariana Calderon. And feel free to anyone who wants to start responding to it. So as women in STEM, what would you think is the most important activity we should do to help close the gender gap?
Well, I would say that we have to help each other. You know, we are at different stages of our careers. There are like new people coming in, new women wants to get into AI in all different realms of applications. And I think that it's very important that if we have some sort of a role, that and we are in certain positions where we can help. It's not necessarily that we have the power. It's just like, well, if we already been through some of the things that people that are just women that are just joining AI, we know that they're going to have to go through. Well, if we are ahead, we are in a way leading, and we I think it's our task, to facilitate as much as possible, that women get on board, and then support them as well, not necessarily them, as we support each other. Let me rephrase: as we support each other, regardless of our position, so we can advance, and we can try the things that we want to do, and we can, strive to have the same opportunities as men have, and in not only in this field, but pretty much in any other field.
I think.
Yes,
oh, sorry. Is there echo? I was going to say that related to helping each other, I think what has helped me the most personally has been role models. When I joined Google, my boss was a very successful, her name is Françoise Buffet. She's a great researcher in speech recognition, and seeing her being so good at what he does and still, having a really good life with her family and a really great work-life balance at the same time, like totally kicking ass in speech recognition. Like, it made me believe that I could do it too. And so I think now that I have worked further in my career, now I strive to become a role model so that I can help others see that it is possible, and like take my career as far as I can, so I can be a role model to others and help them that way. And so I think if you are a woman in STEM, I think the #1 activity you can do to help others is to be really good yourself and like build your curriculum, build your career, do awesome things.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Montse. And we have a question about, do you guys know of any programs for women in AI that you recommend?
It's not
Many of the
specifically.
Sorry. No, so many of the conferences dedicated to machine learning, whether it's NIPS or ICML, have workshops dedicated to women in AI, women in machine learning. That is, of course, one of the many possibilities. But these workshops are really aimed at trying to encourage women to join these most reputable conferences and build communities around them. So that is one of the possible opportunities. Then different universities, of course, also have their own, let's say, groups and subgroups that try to build communities in this area increasingly.
So Sofia Trejo shared also the Women in AI Network. They do workshops and networking. And thank you, Mihaela. That's a great point about reaching out to the different conferences and also within our own universities, and maybe even creating those networks ourselves. So some other questions that we're getting on social media, and how do you? Okay, so. Maybe you guys can talk about what is the stake for women who are poorly represented in the AI models that we use. I think that maybe Alexandra is, or whoever wants to talk about what does it mean that we have AI models that have
I think first of all, it can lead to lost opportunities, right? If you think about models that provide you with ads, maybe they are job ads, and because of the way in which they are trained, you may not learn from a number of opportunities that you would like to apply to. It can also lead to what we call representational harms, right? We can see that certain stereotypes may be amplified due to these models that may be trained on writings from 100 years ago. So they can propagate or amplify old beliefs instead of helping us shape or change, right, the world and how people think about various issues.
And also it's important to keep in mind that the world is diverse. So that's why it is extremely relevant from the policy side, either in private sector or public sector, to encourage diversity within the programming teams. And it's hard, yes, because usually you have, on average, 10% of women in the development teams. And there is a lot of work to do at all levels. First, in the primary education level, to really put in any community that you can have influence, to really have computational thinking programs, teamwork, and to really encourage STEM at very early ages in education. Then when you are in universities, join the networks, really encourage people, not only from the tech careers, but from many other fields to join in the design of digital products or services, because that's where the value is. Then procure sandboxes, be open. How do you design the algorithm? What it is in it? Because then it is very easy to have a group bias when only certain type of professional background is within the development team. And the more diverse is the team, the more, when I say diverse, it's not only men and women, it's majors, it's careers, it's experiences in life that can really gather what are the real problem that you want to solve with that technology solution is the best. And in this, fight to have more representation, everyone has a lot to offer. When you have friends that are going to participate in a hackathon and there's only guys, then say, hey, we need more diversity. When it's only women, also we need more diversity. We need diversity in everywhere, because tech is in the world and the world is mixed. And the most important thing in any development solution is that we represent what the world is around us.
Thank you. That's a really interesting response. So related to this, and I think Yolanda, you talked a little bit about it. So Grecia Cortez asks, what do you think are the most worrisome gaps in basic education that society should address? I'm particularly worried because very few people, male and female, are choosing careers in STEM because of the perception that math is difficult. Also, frequently policymakers, and this goes a little bit to what Yolanda was saying, are lacking in knowledge about such important issues as artificial intelligence and the impact that it can have in society. So, for instance, if you guys had to think about what would you say are the most worrisome gaps that we need to address in basic education, like elementary school, maybe middle school? What should we be thinking about to get really strong people in thinking about AI and its impact on society?
The question was for everyone?
Oh, yes, whoever would like to, feel free. This is an open question to whoever would like to respond. So if you had, so whoever wants to respond, if you had to give recommendations on basic education, what would you recommend about changes in the AI curricula? Michelle, I don't know if you want to respond because you had some notions about like changing the education for women at the high school level.
Yes, but I don't really have a recommendations for basic education. One of the things that I experienced, for example, is, I don't know, harmful comments like, all engineer girls are ugly, or oh, you don't you don't look like an engineering student. And comments like this can discourage women to study a STEM career, and also can discourage women to continue on it. So it's not only a matter of education, it's a matter of society in general that we should aim to tackle in order to I don't know, to make that girls feel confident to study a STEM career. And I don't know if someone wants to complement my comments.
Yeah, I would like to say that I think we need to encourage a critical thinking, even at the elementary school level, not going like high on math or anything like that, but encourage students, both boys and girls, to think, to question things, to always insert that, why. It's not enough to memorize something and then go and parrot it back, and get through the exams and that's it. It is important that that people that kids, discover that they have a brain, and they can think and they can question things, and it's fun. Actually, it's fun to discover things. It's not like a chore. Like if I ask a question, in school, like I'm gonna get extra homework, or the teacher is going to tell me like, okay, go and find out, and then you come back and tell us the answer. It's not. It's necessary that we shift that perception that that just going through the motions, that's what we are supposed to do. Like it's important that we question things, because when we question them, we come up with answers that might be right or not. But then it creates a let's say a methodology for thinking things through, and eventually we start discovering new things, like oh well, I didn't know such and such, or like, oh, this seems to be cool, and a little bit of what Michelle was saying, that's also in terms of the education, not only at scholar education, but also education of society. Comments like, oh well, you don't look like an engineer, or you are too beautiful, or too whatever, to be such and such. So it's like, what does that have to do with what I'm interested in? What does that have to do with what I want to do in life? What does that have to do with how I feel that I can contribute to society with with my abilities and my expertise? So that's also something that we need to present, not only to break up those like stupid stereotypes, and remarks that we get, but also not to care about that, because if we know that that's just completely superficial, and that's not defining who we are as a women, we need to empower ourselves and believe in ourselves to really go through what we want to do, regardless of what other people think and say.
Thank you.
Help other women realize that math is fun, and make math cool and fun for girls, especially girls of young age.
And I think at the curriculum level, what is the biggest challenge is to really scale up the change in the curriculum, to incorporate skills for the 21st century, to design, even among countries, what is the digital competencies, what is a good level of computational thinking, problem solving, teamwork. We need to have the metrics to be able to measure how things are changing within the school system, and those metrics needs to be compatible among countries. That's one thing with national systems of education. And then it's not only the kids, but it's also the teachers. There is a lot of work to do with the teachers, not only in building a digital competency skill set, but also gender biases. Sometimes teachers do not recognize that they have a gender bias, that they call up boys more than girls in math classes. So there is a huge work to do also in the national education system, not only to incorporate digital competencies within the curriculum, but also recognizing that we have biases. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it is a state policy to recognize that we need to change those biases and be able to incorporate within the curriculum that. And then you have the parents who also have biases in how they were raised about what the girls can do and cannot do. The good thing is that we are in the 21st century and we have internet and we have these type of activities and platforms. And if we have a commitment, that the same way we have role models like Montserrat share about her boss, I also have great bosses, people that saw in me potential, that mentor me. And that's key. We can always mentor people that are our peers, that are in younger stages in their career. And we can also that are on top of us that have the power to change policy, and maybe they don't know how, but they have the will to change. So be able to speak up and to say, I think that we can do these things better. And everyone has an opportunity to really close this gender gap and be able to enjoy the wonderful thing that it is to do and design things with technology. I think those of us who choose this field, in my case, I'm a maker. Like, I need to see, is the birth certificate printed, yes or no? Is this policy working, yes or no? And you're going through a lot of process to see that, but the feeling to have a launch, right? To work so much and then to have a go live that is successful is so great when you see the impact in millions of people that are using a product that you designed with your team. It's amazing. It's just amazing. So never let anyone tell you that you cannot do things.
I would like to share a story related to also what Margarita and Yolanda mentioned. I think it's very important to start early, obviously with the caveats that Yolanda mentioned, that you need good professors and also training the parents and training the professors because there are biases all over the place. But I think something that gives me a lot of hope is that children are free of biases. And I think if we teach them from a very early age and we expose them to math and critical thinking and computation the same way we expose them right now to English, the same way we give importance to language, I think it's a great chance at overcoming the gap. Because I participated in the Mexican Olympiad in informatics, and I was the only woman out of over 100 participants. And they decided to start opening this Olympiad, which is for high school students. They started opening it to elementary school students. And it's so amazing to see that there it's 50%, and girls and boys participate with at the same rate. And girls are even achieving, better results, maybe by chance, but like they are actually winning the competitions in elementary school level. And things start getting bad later on, but at least I think this gives me a lot of hope that if we start tackling education early on, children are truly free of biases. And once you show them that it really doesn't matter, it's like Alexandra said, like there's nothing special about computer science or math that girls cannot do. It's like choosing pink or blue for your shoes. I think once they realize that early on in their lives, they're going to continue carrying this throughout their career.
Yeah, I want to plus that also as someone that participated in programming contests in 5th grade. So just after the primary school and winning at that level, which was also a rare kind of opportunity at that time. I think that early successes, even if they are tiny, right, demonstrate to girls that they can do it before, right, the society tells them otherwise.
Exactly.
And there's another thing that I would like to add is that sometimes when we success in our career, this is frequently attributed to something else. Like, it's not like you work hard, but I don't know, maybe it's that I have received comments like, oh, this international PT just accepted you in order to comply with an inclusion fee, or, oh, I don't know, it's because you're a woman, or something like, it is attributed to something else rather than my talent. And this happens more than one can imagine. So we should overcome this this mentality of the people that is having about our efforts, and at the same time things like I don't know, like considering careers like a men's stuff or like a male field. This discourages a lot because it is, I don't know, when sometimes some girls are deciding to pursue a career in tech, I have seen that many of them are told that this is a hard career because this is a, I don't know, a main career. meaning that I don't know, like these hard careers are only for men. Like if girls could only do easy stuff, so yeah, probably it's one of the things that we should aim to solve.
Important to say that women are often kept at higher standards, not lower standards. So they need to achieve more to be given the same type of opportunities, right? And I think that's something that we should always say when someone makes that sort of comment, right? That you received it because of you are a woman, where I oftentimes is in spite of it.
And also, I think as an older woman than many of the participants here, we should realize, though, that we have come still quite a long way. So I studied in the Netherlands as a foreign woman and as one woman in 200 men. So I was the only woman in 200 men and foreign. And we are still much better than we were. We still need to go a long way. But I think that what's also important is to realize that there are many careers one can embrace, like Yolanda very nicely said. With AI, you can build really new worlds. And you don't need to follow only in the footsteps of the ones before you, whether it's men or women. You can build your own world. You can use AI to transform your own world. So there's really an opportunity to kind of understand AI as a tool that can help you environment. So we should encourage women to use this as a new language, if you like, as a new tool to create and build new worlds. And it's really an opportunity for them to imagine a better world and encourage it and see it almost as a new language that is their disposal to build this world. It's not only about the geeks among us that are building the, if you like, the tools or the infrastructure. It's also about using them, these tools, to really truly transform the world, whether it's in government, like Yolanda wonderfully does, or is in other area. And also I'd like to encourage women to also become educators, whether it's the lower primary school level or later in secondary school. And finally, I think it's important to keep women in these fields. I think many of my colleagues that started, let's say, with me, maybe at some moment in time, have dropped in these fields through the years. And we really should try to encourage women to stay in this area and support them.
Thank you, and actually very inspiring responses from all of you. Thank you very much. I'm going to ask really quickly a question that we've been getting on different social media platforms, and this relates a little bit to the biases, and then I would love to jump into some of the questions that we're also getting directly here into the chat. So somebody is asking us about, and this I think is related to Michelle and Alexandra. So there are a lot of search engines that reinforce gender stereotypes. Can you discuss some of the biases that exist towards women in these search results? And also, how does this relate, for instance, to what we know about NLP for gender biases? For instance, and here I'm going to combine it with the question that Sofia Trejo asked. How serious do you think is these gender biases in NLP? This bias is amplified by image recognition systems. These labeled images are then used to organize information by search engines. So I don't know, Alexandra and Michelle also, I think, had information about this. I don't know if you guys could talk about gender biases that exist in search engines. Alexandra and I had a related project about this. That was how I met her. And so maybe you guys can share a little bit about gender biases in like these search engines and in NLP.
I I think it's important for everyone to
Do
understand
I go first?
that.
Okay.
Oh. So I was saying, I think it's important to understand that, for instance, the results that the search engines show oftentimes are based on existing information, all right? And if certain patterns are very prominent in the underlying data, the systems are more likely to pick them up, so are more likely to surface them and sometimes even amplify them, because this is how machine learning works, right? It's based on finding patterns and making decisions based on the patterns. So one thing that is important to remember is that we should, first of all, interpret any results that the system, right, puts out in the context of the underlying data that the system needs to work with. The other aspect is, of course, we should fix those issues, but there is a challenge in finding them, because nobody can sit down, right, and list all ways something like a search engine or a natural language generation system could fail. It's not practical, because there is an infinite amount of ways that the system can fail, particularly in these sort of applications. So I think there is an education kind of or component in how people interpret the results that they see, for instance, in search engines. And then there is a technical component in how can we do better? How can we improve? How can we understand the type of failures? How can we measure them and thus fix them?
Yeah, something that I will add is that our search results are conditioned by the similarity and the popularity of the topics people search, and additionally by paid advertising campaigns. Therefore, the results we get are not neutral, and we can see it, for example, when we look for pretty women or pretty girls. What we will obtain is a set of images of white idealized women, no results of Black women or indigenous women, as if only white women were pretty. If we search for women are, and we let the autofill show the results, we will obtain adjectives like weak, emotional, whereas for men, the adjectives are strong, smart, simple, and just a simple thing like nice hairstyles, we could find similar results, but not for super curly hair or for afro hair. So it's really biased. These results that we are having are stereotypes at the same time. And we could search as well for the word CEO, and the most of the person in the images are men. Or in Twitter and Facebook, for example, looking for words like girls or women in Spanish, we suggest you results like naked or hot, and for men and boys are all neutral. And the problem is not that men have these neutral results, of course. The problem is that women are not having these neutral results, and why. And I could talk about this for hours, but the main problem here is that many people are building their work perspective from these search results, and that's the problem.
Thank you, Michelle, Alexandra. That was very interesting to hear about. And so, yeah, both of them actually have a lot of industry experience and thinking really about what does it mean when we have these types of gender biases in the technology that we're producing. A question that I wanted to ask, like in this short period, we're almost done, is maybe all of you can share a little bit about what you think we should do next to increase, for instance, the number of women that are in AI. For instance, like what can the audience start doing now at their homes to really start thinking about how we can start to change this? That's the question. That's one question that I would like to ask. And also another question is just if you can share a little bit about how you overcame some of your biggest challenges that you experienced in your field. I saw that question, and I also found that it could be very helpful for the audience. just to hear about how what things you think the audience should do to fight these types of biases, and any recommendation for overcoming challenges that they might face in their career. And thank you all again a lot. This has been a great discussion.
I think something that is extremely important is to recognize, acknowledge that there are biases, that there are stereotypes. And from that awareness, work around you, with your boss, your friends, your parents, influence to recognize and be active, right? When someone is making a comment that doesn't make any sense, like, don't be afraid to say, why you say that? Or what do you mean by that? And just creating an awareness that there are biases and questioning those biases or stereotypes is a huge help. Also, I think context is extremely important. We are who we are because in my case, I have a family that has always supported me. I had the opportunity to always work in an environment where I have bosses, people on top of me that really allow me to do to my capacity, which is something that not many people have the opportunity to do. And as you go forward in your career and then you become the boss, then you have a commitment with your team to recognize that you need to build teams that are diverse, that are empowered, that recognize that they have a commitment with the teams that they're going to be leading in as they advance in their careers. And you want, to start building this chain of people that really recognize that we have, especially in technology fields, a huge gap in bias and diversity. That's one thing. And the other is you need to have a network. You need to have a network. I have a lot of people that I consider my grupo de apoyo, and those people are key when I have to go into very complicated decisions. And believe me, as you go forward in your career, your decisions have a lot of consequences. You are responsible for a lot of things. When you work in government, the decisions that you make about a policy program affects millions of people. When you work in an international organization, like in my case now, you decide a lot of things regarding financing projects that affects the lives of many people. So as you have more responsibility, the consequences of every decision you make and you take have consequences. Of course, you always want to make the best decisions, but you need to have people that you can talk to, look for mentors, really look for a network that can support you and guide you. And it's so important. Always, always, always open the door for opportunities to the people that are around you.
And realize also that there is an opportunity to really use technology to create a better world. That we should really preach this to women around us and to women around the globe, that there is really an opportunity to use all this technology for the better. It's really transformational. And like Alexandra said early on, it is cool to do so. It is cool and not difficult to do so.
I would like to point out that also technology can be used to decrease this kind of biases in our systems. And I would like to amplify what was said before, and I've seen a lot of comments in the chat, and I want to make sure that this is very well understood, that as a story, I worked in the speech recognition team, and for some time, speech recognition accuracy was much better for male voices than for female voices by a lot. And the only reason was that the data set was comprised 90% of male voice, and no one had realized it because it was just automatically pulled from the logs, from usage logs. And guess who were the people that were using their phone for speech recognition the most were just male. And that fed into the entire system and resulting in poor accuracy for female voices. And so just what does it mean to have a biased system? It just means that it's amplifying what's already there in society. It's not that the biases are baked into the algorithms by programmers or by the companies. It's just a reflection or amplification of society's biases. And even though this is bad news, it's also good news. As Mihaela said, there is an opportunity to use AI to build algorithms that identify all these biases or all these clusters of different kinds of data and give opportunity to all to have the same performance. So we used algorithms, we used different Bayesian techniques to make sure that even though we had more data for males than females, that both were recognized with the same accuracy. And this is an opportunity for AI to also break the biases that are baked into our society by making these systems better.
One of the things that I would add is that one should be, sorry, Alexandra. One of the things that I would add is that you should be aware of your power, you should be confident about it, and you should communicate your concerns about the things that you are developing or that you are helping to develop. You have to trust your feelings about something that is not fair. And that's sometimes difficult because I have faced that, I don't know, you are framing a problem and maybe you see that there's a problem with the definition of the problem, or maybe with the data you have. So you should trust your feelings about what could be perpetuating from this data that you have, in order to not to do the same, not to replicate the bias that is already on the problem or the data you have. So that's all.
I wanted to also add that sometimes small gestures in lifting others up can go a long way. So we are, at least on the panel, all of us quite privileged, and also those listening might be in a similar position, like even, right, helping someone attend a conference, right, paying for registration, mentoring or taking a meeting with a student. These are small things for us, but they can really go a long way in terms of someone's career and confidence that they can do it.
Okay, well, thank you all very much. I think that our time is up. I really appreciate all of the guys dedicated to this, and we're getting a lot of comments and questions still on social media, but a lot of people found this panel very inspiring, and it seems that for a lot of people also got them thinking about how they could start to really start to change the situation. And so I really appreciate that you took the time to be on this panel and share your vast experience. So we would here have like if we were in a conference, everybody would be applauding. And so, but thank you so much. This was awesome. Thank you very much. Muchas gracias.
Gracias, muchas gracias.
Thank
Excelente
you.
moderación.
Thank you.
Un placer a
Gracias.
todas.
It's a pleasure.